Hey, Gary, if I could ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
First of all, just what do you think is going to happen in the next 6 months as far as the financial markets?
Well, first of all, there are thousands of people worldwide that make their living off of predicting bond prices. And bond prices right now are offering virtually no yield whatsoever. Now, that's as a result of the Federal Reserve basically buying up, issuing, printing money, and banks borrowing that money and then buying up treasuries as opposed to loaning it out to you or I, because why take a risk when you can, in a closed loop, make money off of you and I with no risk. So at some point, and people make their livings off of this, but at some point we will experience a bond market collapse, and that is when people demand that there be more of a return than 1.5% on a 10-year treasury.
So what does that look like? What does that crash look like to the average American?
The shelves are bare, because very quickly the dollars that we have don't buy a thing. And this, by the way, happened in Russia in the late 80s, a monetary collapse. The ruble was worth something one day, the next day it wasn't worth anything. All the shelves were bare in Russia because everybody took all the money that they had and bought everything they could. And by the way, this happens really quick because everybody realizes that dollars aren't going to be worth anything, so you rush to the store to buy everything that you possibly can, because tomorrow, everything that you have in your hand, dollars, don't buy anything. That's a monetary collapse, and we're not immune from that happening.
So what has Gary Johnson done personally to prepare for this collapse?
Well, personally, I don't have any debt. I have zero debt, and I am running for President of the United States. So,
have you set aside some food? Do you have a shelter or a getaway place you could go to?
My home, right. I have a home close to water, and I have water running through my...
So if the shelves were empty, you would be fine? You're ready to go?
No, nobody's going to be fine with the shelves empty. Nobody's going to be immune from a way of life that is just going to be catastrophic relative to what we have today.
Okay. And another thing that's been a lot of chatter online is about your foreign policy and this idea of humanitarian warfare. Do you have any comment on that?
Just that I don't think any of us want to stand by and watch a Holocaust go down. And so in that context is my, look, I don't want to see a Holocaust go down. What is a Holocaust? What is a humanitarian war? One of the Supreme Court justices was asked to define pornography. And his response was, you know what, I can't really define it, but when I see it, I know what it is. As President of the United States, I'd like to think that I would recognize a Holocaust going down and be able to address that. I am absolutely military non-interventionist. In my lifetime, I think there is nothing but unintended consequences that go along with our military intervention.
So in Syria, for instance, is there a humanitarian crisis there?
I don't believe so, no. I mean, that it is a civil war, and at the end of the day in Syria, if Assad is displaced, a new authoritarian dictatorship will take over from his authoritarian dictatorship, as will be the case in Libya. Libya is an example. Gaddafi's personal army is displaced. They go off to the democracy of Mali. They topple the democracy of Mali. We're down one democracy when it comes to our intervention in Libya. Again, just unintended consequences. Egypt, Mubarak. We picked the lesser of two evils because we are omnipotent in the decisions that we make. Well, no.
Are you concerned that if we do go into Syria, there might be some sort of repercussions from Russia and China, and they're...
Yes. Let me just use Iran as an example. If we bomb Iran, we're going to make ourselves another 100 million enemies that we did not otherwise have. The biggest demonstration in support of the United States after 9/11 was in Iran. And we're going to bomb Iran? And If we're going to bomb Iran, how come we didn't bomb China when they were developing a nuke? How come we didn't bomb Pakistan or India? We opened up trade with China. Is China a threat to us? I would argue not, because we are an active trading partner with China. What about trade with Iran?
So, final question: are you optimistic for the future?
No. I don't see either party addressing the issues that face us, and if the issues aren't addressed, I think we're going to find ourselves with a collapsed government and a way of life that is just unfathomable to all of us.
So you think if that vacuum is created, something horrible is going to replace it?
If that vacuum is...
The government, the vacuum of government, if it collapses, is some worse tyranny going to take...
Exactly. It'll be more of a police state, way beyond what already exists today. And if, maybe Tampa, I keep walking around and saying this is an example of only the shops will be bare. Nobody will be in the shops because there'll be nothing to buy, because you won't be able to buy anything with anything of any value.
How do you think about the show of force? Did you see the National Guard troops down there?
Well, if you want to look at it as an example of what happens in a monetary collapse, it will be something like this.
All right, thank you so much, Gary.
Yeah, thank you.
I really believe that auditing the turning lights on in the room with regard to the Federal Reserve and what the Federal Reserve does would be eye-opening to everybody, and everybody would see what an inside job this is.
What I plan on doing, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm either going to write in Ron Paul and vote my conscience, or vote for Gary Johnson, Libertarian candidate. Okay? One of those two things. The reason being, I can't support illegal wars.